Hallmarkies, this is Jess from the Hallmarkies Podcast. We are so excited to bring to you a special interview with Jen Lilley. Unfortunately, while recording, we had some connectivity issues, and while the worst parts were removed, there are still a few areas where the audio and video gets a little glitchy. We're so sorry about this, but we thank you so much for your continued support and hope that you enjoy hearing about all the exciting things that Jen Lilley is doing in the next couple of months to help children in need. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. We are so excited to bring to you today a very special interview. And I'm Jess, and with me we have our lovely friend Kaycee.
Hello, everyone. I am so stoked to be here. This is going to be so awesome.
And joining us, we have one of our favorite house stars, Jen Lilley. Thanks for coming on, Jen.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. My cheeks already hurt from smiling.
I know, it's a crazy time, so it's nice to be able to see and interact with other people.
Hello.
And I know you're a mom of 3 little ones, so I'm sure that gets very busy. And I have 2 little girls myself. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So it's like the fun but very chaotic stage of everything and being needed and in the house, quarantine. So I'm sure we're feeling each other there.
Feeling each other. Yeah.
Have you been surviving quarantine okay with all the kids and everything?
Yeah, it's just funny because it's gone on for like 2 months, at least here in California. And so, when it first started, Hallmark had this fun idea to like put up your Christmas tree and like do Christmas stuff. And it was still cold outside. So we were like, okay. And now it's like, we like got a blow up pool in the backyard. Thank goodness we have a little bit of a yard now, which is great. And so the boys are out there like in their underwear, representing my Virginia roots, like bare butt in the pool because there's nowhere else to go. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they uncovered the pool at my complex, but I'm like, we're not allowed to go in it, so it's like teasing me. I'm like, I can see it right outside the window.
Yeah, we've done the same thing with our blow-up pool too, and the girls will just they would dive right in all their clothes, or they'll just take all their clothes off and go if they wanted to too. So it's been nice having really nice weather here. I'm in Northwest Florida, so.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and jump in. We mostly wanted to bring you on today to talk about your new podcast and kind of the things you're doing with that. But before we did, Kaycee and I wanted to tell you a little bit about why we are interested in it, because when we pitched this episode, we both kind of jumped on pretty quickly. Like, we knew we wanted to be on this specifically because of the fostering topic. And so we wanted to share a little bit about why that was kind of special to us before we pepper you with all the questions.
Hey, I'm excited. Tell me all about it.
Do you want to go first, Kaycee?
Yeah, sure. So, growing up, I obviously knew that fostering was a thing, but it was never, I don't know, not a lot of people spoke about it, and kind of grew up in my adult life and whatnot. And we started going to a new church in town, and our church is very pro foster and adoption. And we have a lot of families that are fostering, and they've just been very special because I do Awana with them too, like the little kids club thing. And I've gotten really close with a lot of those kids and their families, and it's been really neat to see. And then personally, my sister-in-law actually adopted 3 children from the state last year. So I've had like that experience of being like an aunt by adoption, but I can't remember life without them. It's kind of a fun thing. And they are older. They are like upper elementary. So it's kind of also a different dynamic too, because we have all girls and we have now 2 nephews and they're full of energy. But it's also been neat to kind of understand. I feel like there's been kind of a, misunderstanding about children who are in the system. And just seeing them as children as they are, it's been amazing, and just learning more about what we could do to support children in foster care and support families who are fostering and adopting. So that's kind of a little bit my story. I told my husband, I was like, one day, when the time is right, when God leads us to it, I would be so open for it. And I know he agrees because we have 2 girls. But I don't know. It's too, I feel like we could open our hearts to more down the road. So
that's incredible. So awesome.
Yeah, and for me, I guess my interest began a little more in like college and beyond. So in college, I was in a mentoring program for inner city kids, and so kind of learning some of their stories and like the privileges that I took for granted, especially growing up in a well-to-do area. And then now for the last several years, I volunteered at therapeutic horseback riding centers. And one of them in particular focuses a lot on children who have been in some sort of trauma. So we've had kids that are in foster care and, have been abused. And so I think that's where it really kind of made me think about those kids and like put that in my heart. And I don't know, there's just like, I feel like God has called me to there's just like this little like nudge in there that just keeps coming every so often. Like someday I know I'm gonna foster, like kind of like Kaycee said, when the time is right. Being a single person, I have more things to think about, but yeah, so it's definitely a topic close to all of us.
You guys are gonna be crying like before we start this. I'm like, do not cry, do not cry, do not cry. It's amazing how when you sit down and you start volunteering as a mentor, how hard it hits home, because that's very much how I got involved in foster care as well. Sort of. I mean, I grew up, my parents were kind of unofficial foster parents. They took in people were often living in the house who just needed, a hand up. They just needed a little boost in life. And so I was already acquainted with the idea of a stranger living with us. I'm not a stranger, but like just somebody that needed help, somebody who wasn't a family. Yeah. And so then I became a mentor through Child Help's Special Friends program, which is kind of like Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And we fell in love with our mentee. And my husband was like 51% of surveyed Americans at the time. He thought that kids in foster care were juvenile delinquents and, so dangerous. And then obviously he fell in love with her, and we tried to foster her, but we weren't able to. But it's okay because she's back with grandma, which is like the best, happiest story ever. She's still in touch with me.
So you told us a little bit about like kind of your interest in fostering. When you first began it, was your goal to just foster or foster to adopt? Like, did you have a plan or just kind of see where it took you, or?
Yeah, so I know my husband and I really wanted to be like that cool young couple that helped kids and then gave them back. And then we went on like a trip and we were so cool, and just like the people who could sleep in and eat cake for dinner and like, be parents sometimes and then not. And so, no, we had total goals of just fostering, and that was going to be us. And then we got the honor of actually adopting our son, Caden, who was our first placement. And we're really glad about it. But, definitely that was not our intention.
So are Caden and his brother, are they the only 2 that you have fostered, or have you fostered others?
I fostered another little boy, infant, who basically the social worker called me one night at like 10 at night, no joke. And she was like, look, I called everybody else, but I know you're going to say yes. I have an 8-month-old. I have an 8-month-old emergency placement, and I called everybody, and it's you or a homeless shelter. And I was like, what? Like, you can't put an 8-month-old in a homeless shelter and shoot. And I was like, so do you need like meet you? Like, is he at a hospital or do you like, I'm setting up the crib now. What do you need? So that was supposed to be one night while they found a placement for him. It ended up being 3 weeks. It was the longest 3 weeks of my life because he had colic, and Caden got hand, foot, mouth since at the same time. And I didn't know what hand, foot, mouth was. Have you guys heard of hand, foot, mouth?
I've heard of it, but I don't really know.
After having children, yes.
No, it is like awful. Chicken pox on crack. Yeah. It was like, okay, so we have a vaccine for chicken pox, so like people don't get chicken pox anymore, but now they get this disgusting thing called hand, foot, mouth. And I went through like Lysol and bleach. I went through 2 things of laundry detergent and 4 cans of Lysol in 1 week. Oh, man. And I was like, do not touch the baby. Like, don't breathe on him. So when we got Caden's little brother, he was like, so can I touch the baby or what? I was like, do not touch him. So it was like the longest 3 weeks of my life, like trying to keep them like social distancing like a pro. And then, the baby had colic, but he stayed with us for 3 weeks, and I would have kept him longer, except he had a brother, and so we were trying to place the siblings together. So I fostered him. Then the girl that I mentored, she would come to my house for respite. So all of her holiday or school breaks, she would come with us. And I think that's it so far. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then at what point were you kind of inspired to start your podcast about like the fostering journey and the resources and all that?
Yeah, I love podcasts, and I always wanted to host one, but as you guys know, and I don't even know, there's so much that goes on behind it, like producing and editing them and getting advertising and like uploading them and learning how ratings and reviews go and all of that. So I was like, oh, that's on my to-do list. That's like my dream to-do list down the road. I've got more things to tackle in the meantime. And then Deck the Hallmark, the gentleman from Deck the Hallmark, I do podcasts with them because we talk about Hallmark as well. And one of them is actually a foster and adoptive parent. And so he was like, hey, we didn't talk about this. And I was like, we should do a whole podcast on foster care. And he was like, well, that's why we're calling. We actually started our own network and wanted to know if you wanted to be a host. And I was like, are you kidding me? And they said, we'll produce it. We'll handle all the stuff. We just want you to host it and like send us the raw files. I was like, okay. So that's how it came about. Yeah. But it's been on my to-do list for a long time.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. And now I've listened to a few episodes and I think it's fantastic. I've learned so much. And I know, just speaking with my sister-in-law who has adopted, 3 children, I know one thing for her, she said, is that there's not a lot of resources out there. And I know you mentioned, I think it was maybe the first or second episode about the community. And I think this is such a fantastic opportunity to just find that community of foster parents of, maybe they're fostering older children or they're fostering teenagers or babies. And I know for her, because the children are much older, a lot of the ones we know personally have smaller, younger children, not preteens. And so that's a whole different ballgame in itself. So I think it's a wonderful resource. And that's really exciting that that's a connection with Deck the Hallmark. I didn't realize that one of them was a foster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's been, for me, it was like the same thing. I didn't have any community. I really hated Instagram. I love Instagram now, but I hated it years ago because I was like, I want to help kids. I don't want to like put myself out there all the time. And then I had to kind of have an attitude shift and realize that you could find community through following really cool hashtags. And so that's definitely, I don't personally know any foster parents either that are here in LA, but I feel like I have a really good community now through podcasts and through Instagram and through following certain hashtags. So it is really cool. And you do need that because you definitely experience foster care burnout quickly otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the nice thing about technology now is that like anyone can go on and find someone like who has their story or like is sharing in their challenges because everyone's journey is a little different and people who don't foster maybe don't necessarily know like how to, it's not like raising normal children. It's very different and you can find someone to connect with and who kind of understands your story. So that's really awesome.
Yeah,
totally.
For sure. So in our next segment, we're just going to talk a little bit about the challenges to foster care. So to kick us off, what has been the hardest challenging in fostering that you would say, if you were to speak to someone that, is maybe interested in fostering, like the two of us, what would you advise or what?
I would say that the hardest thing that you can hardly prepare for other than like, I'm telling it to you, but nobody tells you this in training is what I call playing middle mom. And a lot of people in foster care use that term. So it's this weird, balance and dichotomy of, so the goal of foster care is family restoration and family reunification. You want to keep that family intact. And you want to be unbiased, and that's one of the requirements as a foster parent. However, guys, we're not robots, we're human, And the other part is that these children need the attachment more than you need to protect your heart, and they can feel it when you don't give them the attachment. So you really have to dive headlong and just become fully attached to them. I use a hashtag called Get to Attached. So there's that. But what happens is, children in foster care have found themselves in a broken system through no fault of their own, but because they've been severely abused or neglected. That's why they fall into the system. And that's at the hands of their biological caretaker. So when you play middle mom, it's this weird ground, especially as a Christian, of I am trying to love your child well and treat him or her as if they're my own, love them as if they're my own, so that they can form healthy attachments and syntaxes and synapses in the brain. However, I'm also meeting with the birth family because you have to do these visits, and they're monitored visits because, the court's not going to allow them to just have like babysitter time with their kids. They need to be monitored, and you have to play monitor. And so that could be really kind of this weird gray area where you're like, especially as a Christian, where you're like, okay, I'm trying to love you and I'm trying to come alongside you and mentor you and like help you be a better parent. But then at the same time, I have to watch you make really poor decisions for this child that's basically now in my care. And I don't want to judge you, but I also, you're only really able to intervene if the child's in imminent danger. And sometimes they are. And kind of one of the ways that I worded it to Caden and baby Jay's mom is I said to her one time, I was like, with this is Caden, I said, I want you to know that when I go home and I have to write these reports, you have to write a report. How did the visit go? What happened? Did anything happen? Did they show up on time? Were they on drugs? What was said? Blah, blah, blah. These crazy reports that you have to write. I said, I just want you to know, because they read them in court, when I have to write these reports, like I am not going home and writing them gleefully. Like I am not trying to steal your child. And I think in general, we are both team Caden and we both want what's best for him. And I was like, and I love you and I want to love you well. And I was like, but you have to know that my primary role is to protect this child. And sometimes you force me to protect him from your poor decisions. But like, I'm not writing these reports like with joy in my heart. Like I hate writing them and I want to help you. So playing middle mom is really hard because sometimes you leave the visits and you're like angry at that parent for not being a parent, or sad because, you're just like watching just like brokenness. You're watching brokenness and you're trying to protect the child, and there's all these like emotions that go with that, and that is really, really, really tricky, and they don't prepare you for it in your foster care classes. And then also as a foster mom, you can have it really hard for your kids. I reported all sorts of things that the bio parents were doing. It is this really weird, like, I want to love this parent, but I also like cannot let this child back in the situation, Right. Like sometimes you see them not making improvement and you're like, I have to stop this. It's horrible. So that's hard.
Wow. Yeah, that is hard. That's a lot of emotion going into that with, feeling upset with, bad decision making, and then wanting to love them and wanting to do what's right and wanting to love the child and wanting to do what's right for them. That's a lot. That's a lot of like tug of war,
Yeah. So tricky.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And like, it's hard to like not get biased, because I actually considered once being a CASA, a court appointed special advocate. But I actually, for my job, I'm not in law enforcement, but I work very closely with them. And I was like, I don't think I can be unbiased. Like, I know like where these kids come from and like their families, and like, so yeah, that's got to be a really tough and challenging thing to like.
Yeah, I would say though that, the unbiased line is tricky, because as a CASA, your job is to advocate for that child. So you are required by law to be biased toward what's best for that child. So that is your job. Just like for a judge, they have to be biased. They're supposed to be ruling in whatever is in the best interest of the child, not what's in the best interest of the parent. So I would still encourage you to maybe define the word bias and challenge you to be a CASA.
That's a good way of putting it. Bias for the best interest of the child.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I like that.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you know now that you wish you would have known, aside from like the tricky kind of balance with reunification and things like that?
I don't know whether it's something I would have wished I would have known, but it was something that I realized, within like 24 hours of fostering Caden. And like, I don't know if this is just me and it has to do with me being an actor or what, but although I feel like I'm going to cry right now, I'm normally really good about compartmentalizing my emotions, and that's part of my job as an actor, like be able to tap into this when you need it and like pull back when you don't need it, and, X, Y, and Z. So I had like going in, I was like, okay, I am going to hold Caden and cuddle him and love him because he's an infant and he needs attachment. But I, in my mind, would be like, I'm going to compartmentalize this. This is not my child. I'm going to love him like my child. He won't know any different. I'm just going to love him, kiss him. And in my mind, I'm going to guard my own heart and tell myself that, like, this is somebody else's child and I am playing the role of foster parent to get him, you know, to the next point in his life. And about, I don't know whether it was even a full 24 hours in, I really felt convicted. And I don't know whether that was just by, you know, the Holy Spirit or whether that was just my own intelligence of feeling like he can sense, you know, babies can sense. We do get off energy, and that's not like a new age thing. That is like a scientific thing. That's how God created us. We are actually giving off vibrations, and children can feel that. That's why when you feel tension in a room, like people are like, "Ooh," like you like got it with the knife. It's because you can actually feel that, and that's not like a weird thing. That's actually science, and it's really cool. And I could geek out on like the Bible and like exactly where that is in the Bible, and I could go down a whole rabbit hole because I love Jesus. I get so hard. We can make this podcast something completely different, but they really can feel it. They really can feel it. And so I felt really convicted and was like, oh God, I'm going to have to fall headlong and just like let that go. I'm going to have to really treat him like my child. And that was scary for me. But I think, you know, my whole thing is that if my adult sized heart with coping skills that thank God I've been given can take on a little bit of this pain that child would otherwise experience. And that's my responsibility as an adult. This child has no, you know, they don't need to be going through this pain. They've gone through enough. I don't know whether that was something I wished I knew or something you just organically have to be like, oh shoot, like I'm gonna have to get too attached, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good point too, because I mean, I'm very attached. I you know, very loyal to friends, and I think that's always been a fear in the back of my mind is getting too attached and then having your heart broken. But I love hearing the fact that like our adult-sized hearts can take it for that child, and it's just such a beautiful picture, and it's very encouraging too. It's very encouraging to know, like, you know, that you can do that and still be okay as an adult.
And listen, when I didn't get my mentee, Lariah, I was devastated, like devastated, did not understand it. And it wasn't until I was actually shooting Paris Wine and Romance in Bulgaria, I was like, I don't know, 14 hours ahead or something. She called me one day and I had lost touch with this girl, the girl I had mentored. And she was like, hey, Jen. And I was like, hi. It was like, I don't know, 11 at night. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I just, like, I'm back with my grandma. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, like, I started talking to her. I was so excited. She's like, are you crying? And I was like, yes. She was like, why are you crying? It's like, because I'm happy. And, like, when I got off the phone with her, I literally, like, was prostrate before the Lord. Like, I have never wailed such release in my entire life. So, I mean, I do get, like your adult heart, like, does take it. But also I know that, like, there is no one that loves these children more than God. No one does. And so he has a plan and a purpose for them. And if you're doing your job as an advocate and you're writing these reports, like, based on facts, then, you know, like, he's got a plan and it's better than what you have. And, like, her reunifying with grandma was better than us adopting her, you know, and I still get to be in her life as a mentor, you know? So, like, I just encourage people, like, just do your part. And also it's, I mean, if you're a Christian, it's a commandment. It's James 1:27. You got to take care of the widows and the orphans. So.
Right. For sure. Can't argue with that. So speaking of all that, what types of support systems do you have in place to guide and assist you through your fostering journey? I mean, you know, at this point, I know you said starting off, it was difficult, but do you have a support system, like maybe family or friends, or is the community mostly through the social media? And
I think for me, the community is mostly through social media. I mean, my church understands it more. I was the first person to get involved with foster care in my church. Some are now getting a little more interested in it, which is exciting. Then there's a lot of amazing organizations in LA. And so I've found community, you know, but really for me, huge community has come through Instagram because, my family gets it, but they don't really get it. It's
Right.
like only other foster parents get it. But they have been more supportive, especially, they're very supportive of Caden. They were very supportive of his brother, who we call Baby J in social media. That's not his name. Starts with a J though, obviously. So you do, you get more support as you go along, just organically as your family starts to take down their guard. But yeah, I'd say online community is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you met Brittany from Project Orphan, right? Was through Instagram and
yeah, and she was the first foster mom I met. Do we want to talk about that? Do we want to talk about what we're doing that's like so exciting that involves Hallmark fans? Do you guys know about? Yeah, you know about it because you've played the story.
Yeah,
we can jump right into that. Yeah, for sure.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at Skylight Frames. And right now, everyone's looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift. And it can be really hard to find the perfect gift for our moms, something that will be meaningful, but there's something they don't already have. It can be very difficult. And I recently was able to get my parents a Skylight Frame, and it was such a fun gift for them because it not only looks nice and is, a thoughtful gift, but it also helps them to connect with their family members and gets to see the photos of their family with greater ease. And so it's a really nice product. It's a digital frame where people can email you their photos, so they don't even have to download them or upload them onto the frame like a traditional digital frame. They can send the photos directly to your frame, so they could be out hiking or doing some activity and just with their phones upload it right to the frame and you could see it, which is really cool. The frame sets up in under 60 seconds. It has a very easy to use touch screen that allows you to connect with your wireless network, and it's an effortless system to send the photos from your family, and it just makes things very, very easy to stay in touch. It's a black frame that looks like a real photo. You can't even tell the difference between your other photos, your framed artwork, and it has a 10-inch screen. You can swipe through photos with your finger, and it has 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't love Skylight, they will offer you a full refund. Now, as a special holiday offer, you can get $10 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/Hallmark and enter code Hallmark. So this is a great thing that you can get for Mother's Day for your mom. And that's $10 off your purchase of Skylight Frame. Just go to skylightframe.com/Hallmark and enter code Hallmark. That's Skylight Frame, SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/Hallmark.
Okay, first I'll back up and say how I met Brittany. So I was, like I said, so sick of social media. Like I was like, I hate this. Like I just want to act. I just want to tell stories. Like I don't want to like be taking photos and like doing filters and like figuring out how it all looks together. This is so stupid. I hate this, I don't want to see a billboard of my face. But I want to go tell stories and play with my kids. So I was really just over social media, and then I took this online class about social media, and it was like, they're talking about hashtags, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not finding community because there's this weird thing where they'll, I don't know, censor your hashtag. So I'm like very vainly now searching for my own posts through my own hashtag. Yeah. So I'm like sitting there, my eyes are bleeding at my desk, and I'm like looking for foster love. I'm looking for my post, and I'm like scrolling. I don't know, for legit maybe a half hour to find out if I'm like have been censored, and that's why I'm not finding any other foster parents. And all of a sudden I see Brittany Ray Stokes' photo, and it wasn't even that compelling of a photo. I mean, the girl is like a social media queen, but it was not that amazing of a photo. And for whatever reason, I totally believe the Lord. I stopped on her photo, and again, I'm looking for my photo, not anybody else's. And I was like, I'll just click on this. So I click on it, and I'm like, oh, this girl's profile is so cool. And then I look at her bio, and it says, like foster mom or something like that, founder of Project Orphans. And I'm like, I love orphans and I love charity. What's this? So I click on Project Orphans, and I start going down this rabbit hole of checking out her 501c3, which is a charity, and like, what do they do? And like, how much does every dollar go towards the cause? Because that's really important to me. Guys, if you don't know it, there are so many shady charities that like are charities, and they're taking your money, and it's not going to helping kids. It's not going to helping whatever the cause. Please do your research before you donate to people. Like, it makes my blood boil how irresponsible charities, okay? It's a whole thing. That's a whole other episode. So I go in and I'm like, all right, Project Orphans is super legit. I go back to Brittany's profile and I'm like, she says she lives in Tulsa. And I'm like, that's crazy. This girl seems really cool. I'm about to go shoot a movie called, at the time, it was the summer of 2018. I'm about to go shoot this movie called Love on Repeat, and I'm shooting it in Oklahoma, of all places. And so I'd send her this message that's like, hey, I promise I'm not a psycho. I mean, maybe I am. But, like, do you want to have coffee? Like, is that so weird, Like, I'm a foster parent. I happen to be shooting a movie. Like, you can check me out. Like, I'm not that weird. I'm going to be in Tulsa. I'm going to be in the area, Like, these are the dates I'm going to be in Oklahoma. Are you at all available on any of these dates? Like, would you want to meet coffee? Is that so weird? Like, I just want to meet another foster mom, and I want to learn more about Project Orphans and, like, talk to you about what you're doing. If I can support you in any way, let me know. I really was not expecting her to write me back. She writes me back and she's like, okay, the only day that I can meet is August 19th. And I was like, that's the only day I have off from filming, like legit. And I already had plans to go to Tulsa on that day because there's a church in Tulsa, and this incredible church called Dave Roberson Ministries. And I've wanted to go there for, 15 years or something. So I was like, I'm actually going to be in Tulsa on that exact day. She's like, okay, cool, let's have brunch. So we meet. And then, love each other. And then we realized that we have the same vision, which is basically to take the program that she has in Uganda and make it's basically a neighborhood here in the United States, a village here in the United States for orphans and children in foster care. And that's because here in the United States, orphanages do not work. Me fostering a bunch of children, that's not going to help them either, because there's only so many children you can really give your undivided attention to. Group homes don't work for the same reason. They're too big. Like children need individual time with their parents. And so we came up with this concept to basically create a neighborhood or a subdivision here in the United States where each family and each home is a licensed foster parent who's totally willing to adopt the children in their care, also wants to rally and come alongside the birth families and really aim for family restoration, but who are, willing to adopt when necessary. So we started doing that. I partnered with her for my album, my debut single, King of Hearts. We gave a little boy named John in Uganda heart surgery, if anybody remembers that, to save his life. It was incredible. That put off my album launch for another year because I found out that I was pregnant. And Mother Teresa says, if you want to change the world, and to do, go home and love your family, which I'm like, oh, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, how can I save other people's children if I'm not even, taking care of my own family? So I decided to enjoy my pregnancy, be pregnant, handle Caden's adoption, got that done. I was taking in his brother at the same time. I was pregnant, so I was like, I got a lot on my plate. I don't know what I can do with these. And in the meantime, I was getting my copyrights and stuff back as a musician. So I was learning all about the music industry. And I, basically I have always had this dream of being like the Tom Shoes of music. So when you buy my music, you give back to kids in need. Music industry, not so much into that. So I had to also take the time to get my copyrights back so that I could do it my way. And now what we're doing, God's divine timing. So I'm launching this awesome global online talent contest. Okay, so think of it as Kickstarter meets America's Got Talent.
I love it.
Or like India's Got Talent. It's for everybody, okay? It's a global talent contest. Any talent will do. There's different categories. Anybody can enter because I really believe that everyone was created on purpose, for a purpose, and has unique talents and gifts, whether you think you do or not. And even if it's funny, like even if you're like, I am actually the world's worst baker, fine, you have a talent. You're the worst baker in the world. You can enter. But here's what's really cool. So the grand prize is, it's free to enter. The grand prize is $10,000 cash plus national press. Plus, if you enter one of the career categories, then we're going to help you actually make your dreams a reality. Now, I have partnered with the lovely Hallmark channel, which we all love, to create a specific no talent required category called Hallmark Fan. All you have to do to enter as a Hallmark fan is make a quick video saying why you love Hallmark Channel and what it would mean to you to win. you could potentially win $10,000. That's the grand prize, all right? But regardless of whether you win first place, you're still going to win the Hallmark category, which means you get to be in a movie with me, a Hallmark Channel movie with me, and you get to go on a set tour of Home and Family, and at bare minimum, you're also going to win $500 cash. So it's a huge win. How my album is going to be tied into it. So the month of May, which is Foster Care Awareness Month, that's the call to enter. Anybody can enter in the month of May. May 31st, voting's going to shut down at midnight. Starting June 1st, people are going to ask their friends, family, fans, whoever, to vote for them. All of their supporters get one free vote. All right? Now, to raise money for charity, what we're doing is you can buy votes. So it's $1 per extra bonus vote. So if you buy 10 votes, you support your contestant. They get 10 votes. That $10 is also going to give you my album. That's how my music is tied in. And that $10 also goes, 100% of my profit goes to helping to build Project Orphans USA, to build that neighborhood here in the United States. That's what we're using the money for. And so there's all different sorts of voting bundles, but that's how it works. That's going to be in the month of June. And again, like, you don't even have to have a talent to enter. If you love Hallmark, we're going to give you an awesome Hallmark prize.
Yeah, I love that. There's like something for everyone, and you can't lose because you're raising money to help orphans. So
exactly. That's why I'm saying, people are like, I don't have a talent. I'm like, dude, even if you can't do a push-up like me, if you're like, I am the weakest person in the world, I don't care. I want to see it. Just make a video. We're just gonna have fun while we're all sheltering in place and we've run out of things to do. Here's something you can do, and you're gonna raise positivity and awareness and help kids, and like maybe be in a Hallmark movie with me.
Yeah.
Can't say no to that.
No, not at all. And so I assume that all that information is on your website, on your...
Yeah, so it's on my website. They can go to jenlilley.com, or if they want, or if they're like, dude, sign me up right now, just go to orbit.com with 3 I's /voices that give to enter.
All right.
Awesome. We'll make sure we'll put that all in the show notes.
So excited, guys. Yeah, we're gonna change the world. It's amazing.
Yes. And I love the fact that your music is giving back too. That is awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks. Because I mean, what's the point of having a platform? Like, honestly, like, get off the stage if you're not going to do something with, I cannot anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So we're also, because we've been doing a lot of rankings lately as part of the podcast. And so we're not going to do a full ranking, but we wanted to give each of our top 3 Hallmark movies. Well, no, Jen Lilley movies, not necessarily Hallmark, because I kind of cheated. But
and I think so far we've done a ranking for Andrew Walker, Paul Cole, and they've all sat in on the comments. So that's a fun one to listen to too. So
and Nikki Deloche is also coming on this week. Well, not airing, but recording.
I love Nikki. I'm going to try to get her to be part of my contest.
Oh, that would be awesome, because she sings too, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
A little, music thing.
All right. Let's see. Kaycee, would you like to start with?
Sure.
With yours?
I will start with my number 3, my bronze Jen Lilley movie. I put down Harvest Love.
Nice.
I love fall movies. I love the fall, and it's probably because I'm in Florida and I have 2 seasons here, hot and hotter. We don't get any of the fun fall things. We try, but it's hard to go pumpkin patch picking and, the hay rides at 95-degree weather in October. I love a good harvest movie. And for me, the storyline, I just really enjoyed the storyline about the working mom aspect, because I'm a working mom and I have, 2 small children, and I do have a husband. So that's a little different from the movie, but it kind of helped me go, oh, okay. It's okay. It's okay to do, to release the mom guilt of working. And I feel like Luna, that character, really found that in, going up to the farm and just finding herself again. And then she started her own clinic, which I wish there was the second movie, just because I feel like there wasn't enough love between Will and Luna. So it would have been nice to see like a second, like, what are they up to now? And how's his farm going? And how's her practice? And maybe a wedding. It would be a great June weddings movie for Hallmark.
We don't get enough sequels in Hallmark. We need more of them.
It's so funny. We talk about that all the time. Like Ryan and Hallmark and I, we're always like, guys, when are we going to do it? Like everybody's like on board, and then they're like, okay, bye. And it's like, well, are we going to do it or not?
So that is my number 3.
Awesome.
Mine was A Dash of Love, because I love cooking movies. And I thought this one was like more unique than the other ones Hallmark has done, because a lot of those are centered around competitions. And this one was like, they get fired and like go up on their own. And so I thought it was really more unique. And I love that your characters, like cooking style, show use like really random stuff from the kitchen, which made me think of Chopped, which is my favorite Food Network show. So I'm like, yeah, we got that going. And it was just really fun. Like it was good chemistry, and I love witty banter, and there was a lot of that too. So
yeah. Oh, awesome. That might be my favorite one. I loved working with Brendan. He is so funny. Though, it was my first Hallmark movie, so like it's really, really special to me. But yeah, anyway, he would make me laugh, and then they'd be like, okay, and action. And I'd be like, I was like, I hate you.
It's too funny.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is Winter Love Story, and you star in this with Kevin McGarry. And so it might be slightly biased too, just because I'm a big Hardy, love When Calls the Heart, and I do love Kevin McGarry. But I love a good road trip, and it was a different road trip too. It was the book tour, so that was also really fun to see. There was a purpose in business and road tripping, and I love the banter between you and Kevin's character, and I enjoyed seeing Cassie's growth too. She made me laugh, because it would probably be me just stumbling over my words and getting stage fright, and her growth in that movie and getting that confidence back was also fun to see. So that is my number 2. Do you have any fun tidbits about that movie that you can remember?
Gosh, we were just so freezing. I think, I was pregnant in that movie.
Oh,
really?
I found out I was pregnant while we were filming that movie.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's a fun tidbit.
Yeah.
All right. My number 2 was Mingle All the Way, because it's my favorite Hallmark trope, which is funny because it's ridiculous in real life to try to pass off a fake boyfriend, but I love it in a movie. I don't know why. It works for me, and I think it's hilarious, and I just thought it was a lot of fun.
I love that movie, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. And it was like a little different too. Like they had the app thing going on, and I don't know, it felt a little different than some of the other fake boyfriend ones, but I didn't have a chance to rewatch it because it wasn't available anymore. So I was like, darn it. But I did really like it.
Yes. I remember enjoying that movie too.
That's good. I produced that one, so that makes me really, really happy.
Oh, yay. I did not know that.
These are all fun facts. Alrighty. My number 1 is one that's already been said. It is Dash of Love. I love and it's probably because I love food, but I love a good cooking movie. I thought the banter in it was so much fun. I thought Holly Hansen was a fantastic villain. Because sometimes with the Hallmark movies, the villains aren't villainy enough, but she was awful. So kudos to that actress, because she did a fantastic job. And I really loved, so I don't know if you know, but on the Hallmarkies pod, we are all about multiple kisses in a movie. And I know there weren't multiple kisses, but there was a very long hug. And there's a lot of romantic tension in that. And so I just love the fact that we got that, and that it kind of showed the emotional connection, but the whole, we can't date because that would be not good. And I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So it's my number 1.
Yeah, I forget. There's only one movie where I've had a multiple kiss, because I didn't even know that Hallmark really allowed that.
Yeah, it's very rare.
It's rare,
It's
but
rare.
it happens.
It does. It's happened more. I feel like it's happened more recently.
They're finally listening. We
Yeah.
want more.
Yeah, but it's usually the almost kiss that happens.
It is almost
Interrupted.
kiss.
Yes.
It's the interrupted kiss is a trope. I mean, that is like you have to have it. But I didn't know the multiple kiss thing was a thing. So like I produce and write, so maybe I'll be like, guys, I've heard from the fans they want.
Yes, we are all about multiple kiss. When it happens, everyone's like, oh, on Twitter, there's a kiss and there's still 30 minutes left. You guys.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it was the Tyler Hines fall movie from a couple of years ago, the one he did with Taylor Cole. Can't remember the
I
name
love
of it.
her.
But there was two kisses in that, and everybody just like fell over. Live tweeting, dead.
That's
Second
funny.
kiss.
Knocked them dead.
Yes. So the long hug is very acceptable, especially in that moment.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and my number one, I kind of cheated because it's not Hallmark, but I chose The Spirit of Christmas. I know, it wasn't Hallmark, but it's Hallmark adjacent because it was written by Tracy Andreed, who's written lots of Hallmark movies, so it counts in my book.
And it's on Hallmark movies now.
That's true.
Yeah, that's my favorite too. Well, I don't know. I like all of them. I like Mingle All the Way and Dash of Love particularly as well, and Winter Love Story, all the ones you named. I like them all. But yeah, I really loved Spirit of Christmas because it was so well written. And fun fact about that, so that was actually an independent movie, and Hallmark did bid on having it be an official Hallmark movie. They wanted to purchase it, but Lifetime actually outbid Hallmark. So it was originally a Lifetime movie, but it was originally an indie movie that went to Lifetime, but now it's on Hallmark Channel now or something on their app. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that it was very different. You know, it wasn't a classic Christmas story, and you know, usually I don't go for a movie that's a little supernatural. Like, it's not usually my interest, but I think it really worked because it was this like nice like juxtaposition of like historical and modern, and it was funny. Like, I just thought it was funny. Like, just he was all like, you know.
Yeah, and it was more like, because I'm the same with you. I don't like supernatural stuff, but I felt like it was more akin to like a fairy tale, like Beauty and the Beast. Like, he's a beast.
Yeah.
Why is he a beast? Because he's cursed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because it was like so different, like it gave us a chance to see more of a range of like even just your own acting.
I was allowed to cry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Dash of Love was my first movie that I did with Hallmark, and Brendan Penny, one of the things that he said that made me laugh so hard, and they actually made me reshoot the scene, is what's her name? Nikki? Is that her name? Yeah, Nikki gets she's like having success with the restaurant. And there's this moment where she opens up her pop-up shop and she sees it filled, and it's before like Holly comes in and, you know, is whatever. And she is supposed to, it says in the script, like her eyes well up, right? Like she gets really emotional and she's like, hey, can you just give me a minute? You know, and then she goes out back and that's when they have their dance, right? And she's like, hey, are you okay? Well, of course I can make my eyes well up. I did a soap opera. And so I had that emotion. And they were like, oh, that's too much. And Brendan Penny goes, there's no tears in Hallmark, Lily. I was like, I'm crying. They were like, that's too much. But in Spirit of Christmas, they actually let me cry. So
yeah, you got to do a lot. You got to be scared by a fake, like a little ghost in the corner. Like,
yeah. There's no tears in Hallmark though.
Maybe Hallmark drama. They don't have any movies.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
I know.
Do a tearful one there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them to do a whole series on foster care, actually. And
that would be awesome.
I know.
Yeah, we need more like that.
Yeah,
Sure.
like a This Is Us Hallmark style. I wrote it before This Is Us, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Anyway.
It'd be like This Is Us meets Instant Family, and be like, bam.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be so awesome. And I love the series. They always do a great job
They
on
do
all the
really
series.
good series. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
So
Yeah, absolutely. We also polled the fans on Twitter to see what their favorites were, and I think most people like kind of agreed with us for the most part. Winter Love Story beat out Harvest Love by 1 vote. So Winter Love Story was number one, beating out Harvest Love by 1 vote. So
That's really interesting. Good.
So fun. So do you have anything exciting coming up with your career? I know the Voices That Give is a really big one right now, but anything coming down the pipeline that you're able to share or tease?
I just got a call actually from Hallmark today saying that a project that I actually created and I'm producing just got greenlit. So
Awesome.
Congratulations.
So I'm now in production for that. We're just trying to figure out the whole coronavirus thing, like how do we do it? When do we do it? But that's exciting. But yeah, mainly right now, Voices That Give is going to go on all for the month of May and June. So that's going to have me super occupied. And,
Absolutely.
Then I have a bunch of kids.
Yes. And I'm sure they keep you really busy there too. Because they're under the age of 6, right? I think they're baby.
So there's a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 9-month-old. My daughter just turned 9 months. And then I actually have a 21-year-old now too, who aged out of foster care.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with us. Do you have any social media you would like to share? I know we talked about your website. Any other way you want fans to be able to connect with you?
Yeah, Instagram, which is just Jen_Lilley, Lilley. That's my favorite way to interact with people because I found a real community there.
Absolutely. And Kaycee, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Hallmark My Words. I'll be live tweeting the movies as they come and as I have time between taking care of children and working and momming and all that good stuff. So.
You can find me at Jess BSW blog on Instagram and Twitter, or check out my website, beneathstillwaters.com. And you can also follow the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod or Hallmarkies Podcast across all social media, including iTunes and YouTube and all of that. Please feel free to give us your reviews and ratings. And check out our merch store because we have lots of designs, a lot from Kaycee, who's designed a lot of fun stuff for us and for the different fan groups. So check all that out. Check out Jen's website. Think about the Voices That Give contest. Submit your videos, Hallmark fans, and help children in need along the way. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.